What's the most embarrassing thing you did as a child? I saw my brother peeing standing up at the park. The whole way home. While crying. I screamed at the top of my lungs, I want a pen 15. It was a very long walk home. In first grade I once put my finger in the pencil sharpener and cranked the handle. Yes, I bled and screamed. And no, I can't fathom why I did it. Once in second grade my friend Jeremy accidentally cut himself with his scissors. And my kid brain must have been like, yeah, that looks like fun, cause the first thing I did was grab a pair of scissors and slice the sheet out of my hand. Still got the scar. Teacher wasn't so happy. The first time I encountered a black person I asked why he was so dirty. He laughed about it. People used to be cool like that. Now I would have been considered the child of racists. Apparently the first two black people I ever met were both named Daryl, and just like that I was convinced. Black people must be all named Daryl. I made so much sense in my 3-year-old mind. All the way up to the age of 11 my sister and I slept in bunk beds. Every night after dark we would take a particular stuffy, hold it in between our vaggies and butts and violently fart on it. Sharing the stuffy and mixing our odors. I still get really embarrassed when I see the stuffed animal, and we both made a pact to never mention it to anyone. Kids are ducking weird. When I was 4. To the first black kid I met, who eventually became my best friend, I asked, "How did you get burned? You look like a burned hot dog." Completely innocent. He shrugged and then we just became friends. It was only embarrassing when he asked his parents, in front of me, how he got burned. Damn. When I was about 5 or so my younger brother was 2. Every time I played with his toys my mom would tell me that I was too big for them. So the first time I saw an obese person sit on a chair that was too small for them, guess what I said? "You're too big to be sitting in that chair." When my cousin was small, my aunt, his mom, was trying to teach him manners. "Please. Thank you. Sorry. etc." So they were at the grocery store and he was trying to get around this woman. My aunt goes, "Say excuse me. Excuse me. Big fat lady." I was 5 years old and we went to a farm for a field trip. It was a really big freaking deal for my classmates and I. My mom was one of the volunteers. We were in the petting zoo area, where there were rabbits, guinea pigs, chickens, etc. And I saw a little berry on the ground. I picked it up and was about to put it in my mouth when my mom ran over and slapped it out of my hands. She yelled, "That's poop," which drew the attention of everyone. I almost ate shit. Thank goodness my mom stopped me. I was shopping in Gap with my mom. I don't remember doing this, but she won't let me live it down. When I was young I used to call khakis packies. So shopping in Gap in an immigrant heavy part of the city, I shouted, "Hey mom, look at all the packies." In a Gap filled with Middle Eastern men and women. Wrote this before, but here it is. It was my grandma's birthday. And I was about 6 years old. So we had a big party at our house. Lots and lots of guests and of course a lot of new faces. Being a stupid, chubby but completely crazy kid, I thought I would perform an act of dancing for the audience. Unfortunately for everyone in the building, the night before I spent more than 3 hours coming up with the dance moves. Watching TV in order to find something extraordinary astonishing. And I did. It was my time to shine. So in a high-pitched voice I declared that I'm going to perform a happy birthday dance. It would be not that bad. But just before going on the stage I made a little wee-wee in my boxers. So I ripped them of my clumsy body. Run out naked on the stage in front of more than 20 people. And all I do is I start to jiggle my pecker and sing happy birthday. Come and dance with me. Edit. Changed a word. I was a humper. And my parents never had the talk with me that such behavior was not appropriate in public. My baby sister humped everything. From the ages of about 3 to 6. She humped the arms of the sofa. Piles of newly laundered clothes. Her stuffed animals. My stuffed animals. The edge of her bed and my parents' bed. the staircase, anything. And I knew what that dirty little duck was doing too. And it grossed me out. But when I tried to stop her, she would scream and cry and my parents would say, "Stop teasing your sister. Just let her do it. Seriously? Just let her hump everything in sight? I'm trying to watch Mighty Max here. I'm scarred." I was a teen. And this friend of me was, unlike me, already sexual active. So one day, we were sitting on a terrace and he said, "I like my girls drunk." Important. In Dutch he said, "Ik hou van dronken meisjes." I was a bit shocked. So I went all out, "WTF dude? Why? Because they can hardly speak? Because they smell a bit like puke? Because they have no ducking standards? Or is it because they will sleep with everyone?" I made my point very vocal. So all the people near me would see how I would distance myself from his behavior. But he didn't say, "I like my girls drunk." He said, "Ik hou van donker meisjes." Or in English, "I like my girls dark." My mom had a friend who was living with us after his long-term boyfriend broke up with him. My mom says that when the three of us were out together, I'd go up to strange men and ask them if they wanted to be his boyfriend. First day of Spanish in 2nd grade. The night before, my brother told me a Spanish phrase to tell my teacher. He said it would make me look smart. I ended up asking my teacher if my pants are still at her house. At the grand old age of 2, my twin and I got up in the middle of the night, got out steak knives and grated cheese into the heat vent. It is a miracle we weren't hurt. My dad did his best to clean out the ductwork, but he said the smell was ingrained into our heating system. Not exactly embarrassing, but definitely odd. We also had our own language until we were about 4 years old. My dad had an old station wagon, and when I was a kid I liked to go in the back and put on puppet shows using my stuffed animals for the people in the cars behind us whenever we were at a red light. I have no idea if anyone ever noticed, but I can't imagine what they thought of seeing these stuffed animals dancing around in the rear window. When I was about 7, my friend and I were peeing in the bushes. I told him I could stick my pee-pee in his, but then he could stick his in mine. He looked dubious and said, "No." To this day, I have no idea why I thought it was a good idea. In 3rd grade we would have reading time every day after lunch. The teacher would read one of her favorite books to us chapter by chapter. It was nice. In a way, I was known for being a stinky chubby kid already, but this particular day I outdid myself. Halfway through, our teacher excitedly reading BFG, I let out the rankest fart. A mixture of Satan's butthole and sulfur. Everyone heard it. Everyone definitely smelled it. As if God himself could add more insult. A small earthquake shook the room right as I stopped farted. Our teacher made everyone go outside, not because of the earthquake, it was only a tiny one, but because my fart smelled so bad that the teacher thought the classroom was uninhabitable whilst the fart smell lingered. I then started to cry because everyone was mad at me for ruining the BFG forever and just making it stink so bad. My 3rd grade class can confirm this. Wherever they are now, they still remind me of this story. I am known as the kid whose fart shook the whole world. TLDR, in 3rd grade, I farted. Real earthquake suddenly happened. Classroom evacuated because it smelled so bad. I cried. Edit. Formatting. And added last sentence. To clarify, the BFG stands for the Big Friendly Giant, written by Roald Dahl. I would sing like an opera singer. I'd also say things from advertisements all the time. And there were a series of genital herpes ads that were on quite often, which lead to me screaming genital herpes in public, much to the embarrassment of my parents. In 2nd grade we played this fishing for words game. Only 5 were allowed to play at a time. When 3 more sat down I said, "You black kids can't play with us." One kid told the teacher I meant they can't play because they're black. I was just being descriptive and didn't know better. As punishment I had to stand on the top of my desk with my arms held out for the rest of the day. And we hadn't even gone to lunch yet. I was crying. And very embarrassed. I didn't even get why I was in trouble until later. I don't actually remember this one, but I'm told that when I was around potty training age, my family was having a large gathering at my grandmother's house. All of my cousins and I were playing in my grandmother's room and I had to poop. So being nearly potty trained, I did what any sensible 2-year-old would do, and I skeezed one out on the carpet right in front of the door to the bedroom. When my cousins noticed, they started freaking out. And all the parents in the house came rushing to see what the problem was, and it so happened that my mother was the first one into the room and promptly slipped in my poop, followed by my uncle who also slipped in it. Also, I made a poop pie in the sandbox, again at my grandmother's house, and then proceeded to smear it all over myself and the edges of the sandbox. My mother found me and hosed me off in the backyard, holding me by my ponytail, because that was the only part of me that was uncovered by poo. And I do remember this one. I was not a smart child. When I was about 8, I went with my family to a Chinese restaurant for my great-aunt's 80th birthday. When the waiter, an older Chinese man, came to take our order, I said, "I'll have the cleavage." Having heard that line in Spaceballs, I had no idea what it meant at the time, and my family gaped at me in stunned silence. Only when I was maybe 15 did I realize what I had done. TLDR, ordered cleavage from an elderly Chinese waiter. I did cheat myself on accident. So teacher was checking everyone's pants since no one would admit it. On my turn, I quietly whispered it was me. "I am so sorry," and she replied, "It is okay. I will get you a clean uniform to wear." Then I said, really embarrassed, "Everyone will notice I changed." "No, they won't," and somehow they really didn't. In line at my barber shop, I told jokes from a Mario game to everyone sitting in the chairs waiting. They weren't even funny. What was I doing embarrassing myself like that in front of impatient 40 and 50-year-olds? I probably thought it was funny then. I really hope my barber doesn't remember. I don't remember this, but when I was little, I would always take dishes and utensils from around the house and put them in the toilet. When my mom asked me what I was doing, I told her I was washing them. On my first day of kindergarten, I ran up to the wrong man thinking he was my dad. His back was to me, and I clung to his leg until my mom came and pulled me off, explaining that was not, in fact, my father. I cried so much from embarrassment, I imagine anyway, she had to take me home. Not an overactor at all. Me, 5 years old, my brother and my cousin at the living room watching some movie that had bobs in it. And suddenly I say, I don't know why, but my pee-pee gets hard when I see boobies. Dear God, I hope they don't remember it. English is not my native language. My parents took me to Kids Day at the local fire station, where you could look at all the equipment, get up in the fire truck, etc. There was about 20 kids crammed into this fire truck, although it may have been more. When they turned the siren on, it was loud. For some reason this terrified me. I also couldn't get out because of the number of other kids in there. I was screaming, banging on the window, trying to get out. I was the only child who reacted this way. I was terrified of a fire truck. When I was watching Prawn, my dad was facing the back of my PC. I thought I was being smart, but after 2 years of living in that house, I noticed there was a big mirror behind me. So he saw everything. When I was a youngin', I stayed with my grandma quite often and she would help me get ready for school. Her bathroom shower had a big opaque glass door, and when it would get foggy I would draw smiley faces with the tip of my pen 15. I thought I was sneaky until one day she called out, "Are you ready to get out, or are you still drawing with your wee-wee?" I was mortified. To top it off, she told the rest of my family. Here I am 20 years later and my brothers still call me Big Picasso, pun from Picasso, every family gathering. I was 11 years old and on a flea market, here in Mexico, there was guy selling X-ray glasses to see everyone naked. The seller told me that you have to charge the glasses with the sun, and after 2 hours, boom, you can see everyone naked. I'm not kidding around. Me and my friend went to get money. I invented a bullshit story to my parents to get something around $30, 400 pesos, and I bugged them. I put them on my window on the sun. I waited about 3 hours to charge the glasses, and guess what? I was scammed. I still get along with my friend, and today we laugh about this story when we are having a few drinks, and some people don't even believe us on how stupid we were. As a child, I was never bright, as always too kind-hearted. So I was often the butt of the jokes and had quite a hard time. One time when I was in the playground, 13 years old, one of my tormentors attacked me for some reason I can't quite remember. Some bullshit excuse. Long story short, I finally got sick of all the harassment and bullying and I fought back. I ended up winning the fight and everything went unnoticed. Until the next day. I came into school and everyone had taken his side. And said I lost my temper and attacked him. Needless to say, the teachers jumped on this as a quick exit to the problem. I was repetitively told it was all my fault until I cried in front of a few witnesses. This was the most embarrassed I have ever been. Edit, to put a nice ending on. I was never bothered by the bullies again. And slowly made new friends. I'm 17 now and have a great social life. Always stick up for yourself. That is what I has learned. Digging in the sandbox in my backyard as a child, I thought I found dinosaur fossils. I proudly showed my parents my discovery, but what I thought was rare dinosaur fossils was just old dried up cat sheet. I pooped in a public pool. I was about 4 and I had been having problems going number 2, and I guess the nice cool water got things moving. I tried to keep it in, but every time I started walking out of the pool it would prairie dog. I yelled for my dad, but he was too late. I don't remember the incident very well, but my dad likes to say that it was like that scene from the movie Jaws where they spot the shark in the water and everyone starts screaming and running for their lives. But instead of a shark, it was my poop. Some neighbor kids were picking on me. They locked me in the abandoned house next door to me. When I got out, I was so mad that the only thing I could think of was taking my pants off to scare them. It worked. I have no idea why I did that. I still cringe. So when I was really young, I was obsessed with Toy Story. My dad, his then girlfriend, who shortly after was his wife, and I went on some trip when I was around 2 or 3. We were coming back and about 5 hours from home. We stopped at a rest center and I brought my Woody and Buzz Lightyear toys in with me. We get back in the car and drive for about a half hour. Then I start to cry my eyes out. Shortly after that, I started screaming. I lost my Buzz and I lost my Woody. For the rest of the car ride. It wasn't until my early teens when I realized why they would always laugh hysterically at this story they will never let me forget. I was 11 years old, a very awkward age. I put on a bikini and strutted outside to show anyone that would look my way. My poor unsuspecting dad was sitting in a lawn chair when I walked up to him and asked him how I looked. He took one look at me and quickly looked away and would not look my way again no matter how much I pleaded. Dad, why won't you look at me? Don't I look pretty? And then my dad pointed at my vaginal area. I looked down and was horrified to see that my bikini bottom had shifted to the side and my lady bits were visible for everyone to see. That was quite the embarrassing moment and I remember it vividly. TLDR, my bikini shifted and my dad saw more than we wanted. I saw my mom's tampons in her purse and started yelling about how I wanted them because I was a girl. She told me they were lady items. I was probably about 3. This was at the grocery store. I'm just going to assume she was embarrassed. I remembered another. I was on the bus with my babysitter and apparently pointed to some woman's crotch and announced that my mom had hair there. Everybody assumed my babysitter was my mom and she got some looks. I was really obnoxious. I dressed up as a girl for Halloween when I was 12. My mother thought it would be adorable. She was wrong.